They call me Macbeth. Welcome, Gothamites, to another episode of the Arkham Sessions. My name is Brian Ward. Joining me, as always, is the psychologist of the superheroes, superheroines, and supervillains of Gotham City and beyond. She's Dr. Drea Letamendi. Hello, Drea.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Doing very well. It feels like we have set Gargoyles aside for a minute. We had some interviews to conduct. We had some panels to do at WonderCon. We have been busy. But now I'm actually really happy to be sitting down and reviewing a new episode of something we've never seen. How about you?
Same. I've been missing Gargoyles. We are... Oh gosh, we've got just a handful more, right? For season 1.
Yeah, I think there's 13 episodes, and this is season 9. This is
episode 9.
Yes, it's episode 9. Enter Macbeth.
That's right.
As opposed to Leon Macduff.
What?
That'll be the part. So Drea is not a Shakespeare fan per se.
No.
That is a famous line toward the end of the show. Macduff is a character in Shakespeare's Macbeth, Leon Macduff, which means prepare yourself because we're about to fight. And I have a feeling somebody's about to fight somebody. But I'm curious, when you hear a title like Enter Macbeth, Macbeth has a very famous name. And one would immediately throw it back to Shakespeare. They would assume that this is the Macbeth from Shakespeare. But what a lot of people don't necessarily know is that Shakespeare did not create Macbeth, simply wrote a extremely historically inaccurate version of a king that actually existed and ruled for about 17 years. So I'm curious, are we going to get Shakespeare's Macbeth, who's a murderous villain, or are we going to get more of a historical figure, Macbeth? I'm curious.
Well, we're picking up on a time where the Gargoyles have been gradually exploring life in New York City and having some setbacks as well as some wins. What I mean by that is socially, they've been able to kind of expand some of their social repertoire. They're trying out new things. They're exploring the city. They're trying
building
to make
motorcycles that explode.
They got
on the street.
they got hobbies. The pattern has been that when they interact with humans, they experience rejection. They experience thwarted belongingness. Humans are afraid of them naturally. They have this monstrous appearance, and despite their good intentions, it doesn't always end well for them. And I'm wondering if we're reaching a peak. I don't know if this has to do with the question you asked about Macbeth, but they're going to reach a peak where they have to make a decision. Are we in or are we out?
Yeah.
And, you know, it harkens back to the X-Men, right? Where many of the X-Men in some of the storytelling had decided, we just can't interact. We just can't mix. And so I wonder if this is the juncture here for the Gargoyles.
Meaning what exactly? Like, what do you mean? Is this that junction? You mean just in general, as we have been progressing, we are eventually going to reach a point where the Gargoyles either have to buy in or go the Demona route?
Well, or the Magneto route, right? And I'm not even saying
But I would say Demona is the Magneto at this point.
I'm saying the underground, let's just live in the sewers.
So more like the Morlock.
Kind of like the Morlocks.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
We can't really coexist with a society who won't take a chance with us, who won't fundamentally be willing to connect with us. And some of this is related to a concept called learned helplessness, where after several attempts to try and have some control and some agency in your experiences, you still reach the same outcome, you're going to stop trying. And so I wonder if some of our characters here decide, this ain't for me. We tried, it's not worth it. Our lives are at stake here. These aren't just people rejecting us. These are also people attacking us.
I also want to know if we're going to follow up on the shooting from the last episode, because that was the last episode that we watched, where Broadway unfortunately injured Elisa quite significantly by shooting her in her own kitchen, no less.
Accidentally.
I wonder if we're going to follow up on that, or if we're just going to say that she is now healed and it's several months later and she's back on the force.
I'm sure they'll say comment about it.
Yeah, this show strikes me as the type that takes its continuity seriously. So I wouldn't be surprised to see her laid up in bed, or like, oh, I'm still tender from whatever, or oh, I'm not quite back to work yet.
Or remember that time you shot me?
Yeah.
I mean, if that
we're
were
at
me,
that phase. We're at that phase where she's joking about it.
If that were me, I would constantly bring it up.
Not to Broadway, though. He's a little too sensitive, I think. God, is there a character that I would do that to here? Hudson. Hudson might be the guy that could roll with it.
So the reason Hudson is a good person to joke around with is that he saw it on TV. Yeah. Like, he saw every episode. He's watching every series that's on in the early 90s. This is taking place in that time, right? So he's seeing all the special episodes about,
but then trash talking it.
People accidentally shooting other people. Of course.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, I think there's probably only one thing that we can do from here, and that is sit down and watch episode 9 of season 1 of Gargoyles. It is called Enter Macbeth. Are you ready, Drea?
I am ready.
If you are watching on YouTube, why don't you go ahead and give us a like, give us a subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you like this episode, or even if you didn't like the episode. Let us know why. We'll try to fix it. And we will proceed. They really just don't do intro sequences like that anymore.
I am Demona. Every minute you stay here, you're in danger.
No, this castle is our home.
Oh, so Xanatos is coming back in this one.
She survived 10 hours of surgery.
Was that the shot that was cut out of that was censored in the other shot? The one with the blood on the floor?
I don't remember seeing that one.
We didn't see it.
No.
I'm sorry, but it just looks like Minas Morgul in that light. Just creepy. Back to doing what matters.
Here we go.
Watching Donald Duck. So do you think he sees Donald Duck as flesh, or do you think he sees him as animated, given that he is also animated?
I think he's... Oh, gosh, I don't know.
Is that why you can't tell the difference between what is right and wrong in television? I would probably protect the grimoire a little more than just putting it under a glass cover.
This is his cell? This is a nice situation. He's got like a laptop, a desktop.
All in all, I would say my stay has been a learning experience.
One more week and you're free. You've never said what you want done about the gargoyles. It would be easy enough to destroy them during the day.
I suppose.
But that's not fun.
I'm here with a proposition for Mr. Xanatos.
I'm listening.
Oh, is that Sean Connery?
Certainly trying.
They call me Macbeth.
I love just the bagpipes. They call me Macbeth.
Hey, what are you doing here?
I'm called Macbeth.
Oh, all right. For a name that theater people don't like to say very often, they've sure said it a lot so far. Why would he choose that? Why would they choose this pose to turn to stone with?
Well, aren't they protecting their castle? They want to look dangerous.
But sometimes they just look weirded out because the sun caught them off guard, and I think Hudson was like, "Oh, give me the sword! Give me the sword! I'm gonna pose like this."
I'm here to offer an invitation to leave this drafty old castle and be guests at my home.
I'm afraid we must refuse.
And I'm afraid I must insist, and not stoop so low as to attack you while you slept.
All right,
What?
Blade.
Okay.
I think you better leave. Whoa! No!
Someone needs to create like an artificial sun device where you aim it at them and fire and they turn to stone.
Like one of those depression lights. You just aim it.
Mr. Xanatos hired you to fumigate his castle, not destroy it.
Quite right. We'll continue this elsewhere.
Oh, just end it right now. You got them down on their hands and knees.
Oh,
Why only take them?
I was just thinking that. He was very specific about who he took.
You're not safe here.
No, you don't understand. We've lost.
You think those are green uplights?
Our time.
I don't know.
This castle is all we have left. We will not abandon it.
Read my lips. You're not safe here. I can't protect you during the day.
I'm going to find them. And you two are going to stay here and protect our home.
Unless it's daytime, and then we could be screwed.
It's obvious that you can't stay here.
But Goliath is our leader. I cannot go against his wishes.
But he told you, protect our home.
Aye, that he did.
Hudson, you and I both know this isn't your home anymore.
But can I take the TV with me?
Interesting.
So Demona.
Yeah.
Who is this Macbeth anyway?
Goliath was talking about a play called Macbeth by some new writer named Shakespeare.
Uh-huh. Ever read it?
No.
Maybe we should.
My plan's working. They're going to reach Shakespeare.
I'm going to get them to read.
He doesn't have to like it.
Honestly, I would hate it.
He just has to realize he has no choice.
We're sitting dorks here.
Ducks Broadway, sitting ducks.
I said what I said.
Remember that time you shot me?
This book is the property of Mr. Xanatos.
And who's going to stop us? You?
Indeed.
Oh, he's got some PTSD right now.
Oh.
It's not even going to be the real one. They're going to leave thinking they got it, and he's going to be like, they took it.
What do you think it is? Shakespeare? They're going to read Shakespeare.
Collected works.
Ouch.
How many times are you going to try that?
Until you figure out a way to get us out of this. Ouch. Hey, I'm getting tired of this.
Did you just see how the lights dimmed when you did that?
Is that that's a Ghostbusters reference.
Is it?
When he electrifies the kid, he's like, I'm getting a little tired of this. Well, I'm paying you, aren't I?
Get ready. Now!
Go for help, Ron!
Run, hurry! Go get help, Bronx.
That's a Ghostbusters reference.
What?
The demon dog.
Oh. Something about a bear in his apartment.
Bronx. Where are Lexington and Brooklyn?
All right. Was that a little Batman reference?
Maybe. I think he's trying to lure them. Yeah, this is the plan. This is why he didn't collect all.
It's just too elaborate and convoluted. You had them all on their hands and knees. You had...
Find Brooklyn and Lexington.
Come ahead, then. I defeated you in your home. You think I wouldn't be ready for you in my own?
Punch the keys. It's just wood.
Bronx must have found Goliath.
Yeah.
Boy, Goliath's going to have a hunched back if he keeps standing and walking all hunched like that.
I needed you to build my escape room. It just seems like he wants him to get trapped multiple times. Yeah, it's like...
Now we're going into Enter the Dragon.
Why are you doing this? We've done you no wrong.
It's not you I'm after. You're just a pawn. I want your queen.
We have no queen.
What about Demona?
You know Demona.
Know her? I named her.
Okay. We're going to get a little backstory on that?
If I capture you, the last of your kind, she will come to free you.
Then you are a fool. She wouldn't lift a talon to save us.
We're on a break.
Well, I better get out of here then.
Good boy, Bronx.
Why didn't he just do that before?
I don't know. Nice.
There really was a missed opportunity to say lay on Goliath.
Watch you.
This really backfired. Like, that's this guy's home, right?
Yeah.
Or
just a place that he set up
okay
for this to happen.
Yeah.
Or knowing that something like this could happen.
Goliath!
What are you doing here?
You don't live there anymore.
What?
I found you a new home.
How dare you? I told you that castle is our home.
Who animated this episode? It's not the best.
It's just a place of stone and wood. Home is more than that, Goliath. Home is the six of us. Wherever we can be together and safe, that's our home.
Okay. This is starting to make sense.
I have a message for your master. We're leaving, but we'll be back.
I'll deliver your message.
That's it. That's the only reason I came. Okay, bye.
Welcome home, Mr. Xanatos. I'm sorry to tell you that the Grimorum is gone, as are the Gargoyles. However, I think you'll find this interesting.
Fascinating. It would seem we have a new player in the game.
What do you mean a new player? You met him. He was in
But he was not in this, like, outfit.
It's the same guy.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, I know. We were both there. He came, he sat right next to you and talked to us.
It's not so bad. There's a place right over there for a television.
Okay, it's a fixer-upper, but a few throw rugs, some flowers, it could be home.
As long as we're together, it's home.
It's going to get real loud once an hour, but that's okay.
Oh gosh, I hate to ask you this question, but did they pick the clock tower because of its height? Is it? It's the magic thing. They have to be above the clouds still,
No,
or no?
No, we have been told many times.
That's why I'm nervous asking this question.
No, we have been told many times that it's been broken. We know it's been broken. And by the way, we've always known it was been broken. We just like to ask questions sometimes.
You got to admit that the rules of the Gargoyles aren't exactly straightforward.
Solid?
Exactly. Yeah, they're not always set in stone.
Man. All right. So in this particular case, Macbeth was just sort of a name. There was no...
Not yet. You know, I guess what you're saying is
he's still a player.
It's not a connection yet to like why he's called Macbeth. I think we will find out that he's perhaps also supernatural in some way.
Yeah. My guess is that he probably named Demona an extremely long time ago. Like he's probably also lived centuries, or at the very least, he's older than he seems.
Right.
And so, yeah, it is possible. But
it's the accent, it's the voice,
yeah,
and it's the outfit.
Well, I mean, like how you're basically saying, look, anyone who speaks in a Scottish accent must be from the 1600s.
It ain't right. He's not from this time.
He doesn't. I mean, the fact that he says that he named Demona, the fact that he has a castle-like structure that has a stained glass window with a silhouette of Demona on it, I am getting vibes that he, like you said, is equally supernatural in some way. Something has happened to him. He has an extraordinarily long life.
Absolutely. No one's collar is that long in the
That's just fashion.
current era.
That is just fashion. No, he straight up looked like Blade. He had
what I'm
had the
saying.
black body armor. He had the
Ooh.
black trench coat. I mean, it's very
Is
much
he-
a late 90s.
Is he a vampire?
And he had the red lining in the coat as well. He went, and he might as well have Blade's handgun. He is but it shoots nets. Electrified nets. So there's that at least. What'd you think of that episode, Drea?
Well,
Did it give you anything? I mean,
It gave me a little
It
bit.
really gives you a lot in regard to Goliath letting go.
absolutely.
And I think that this could actually lend itself to your question earlier, which is this them buying in to the world around them? They're no longer married to the castle that they considered home for centuries. They are no longer shackled, if you will, to tradition. They are now trying to make new traditions, a new home with one another, as long as they're all together.
Sure. On the one hand, you're going from one isolated environment to another. They're just moving into the clock tower. I don't mean to make light of it, but does that make sense? They're moving from a castle on top of a high rise, which is incredibly isolating,
Yeah.
to a clock tower where presumably people will not know they're there. They can
Doesn't matter,
continue
though.
to hide.
Doesn't matter, though, because we can't gloss over the fact that in the middle of what looked like a Times Square-esque, very busy part of the city, both Bronx and Goliath were very visible on the street level to a lot of people.
Yeah. I think what's missing for me, I'll say a couple things. Yes, I liked the episode. It was very it was very action packed, and there was a lot of combat, and I think that the conflict continues to strike my attention or to grab my attention. What's missing for me, you mentioned something really critical. Where do we see the interaction between or the reaction rather of society? I want to see the news stories. I want to see like the journalists and the news anchors talking about what they experienced or having news stories about the sightings of the gargoyles. I want kind of the reaction from people. We're seeing a lot of the perspective from the gargoyles, and I want to see that interaction. I want to see that social impact.
But
what does this mean for them?
But if it were going to be realistic,
yeah.
Think about it this way. New York has had a bajillion of those stories.
Sure.
Alligators in the sewers, large rats.
Pizza rat.
They've heard all kinds of stories and urban legends about, literally an urban legend, about different creatures and monstrosities in New York City that to some people, they would just be like, whatever, we've heard this before. And for other people, they might jump on that conspiracy wagon. They might you might find people trying to hunt them down and find them and, whatever. If nothing else, just to get a good photo of them, like Sasquatch kind of thing. So I would be interested to see how society treats this information. But now you've had a family see them on the street in the alleyway when they were fighting against Pack? The American Gladiators.
Yeah,
we're going to call them the American Gladiators.
Yeah.
So we saw, there was a family who saw them in an alleyway. There have been motorcyclists who have seen them and confronted them and even shot at them and blown up their motorcycles on the street. There have now been this large group of people in the middle of an intersection in the middle of Manhattan who have seen them. So they are no longer unseen by society.
Right. And I think it's kind of what you've said about Batman. Like, I want the lore. I want the reaction, the lore, the narrative, the storytelling that humans are creating and putting together to describe how they feel about these creatures or the idea of these creatures or the urban legend. If they still think, well, not enough people have seen them. You don't have evidence. No one has film. No one has pictures. I think
you want the scene between two muggers up on a roof that's like, I heard you got Johnny Gobbs. And the other guy like, Johnny Gobbs got ripped and took a walk off a roof. No big loss. Like, you want that. You want the person who believes and the person who is the extreme skeptic coming head to head, only to then find out that there is a Goliath.
Yeah, and I honestly don't even know that I can describe why I want that.
Well, it makes the world richer. It makes everything becomes a little bit more real and three-dimensional.
Maybe so. We just saw a whole crowd of people react to the gargoyles
they
in the
didn't
middle
react
of the street.
though. That's the problem that I had with it. At best, it was a mild inconvenience.
Right. I think that's what I'm saying is this has to have this has to have an impact. This has to have weight. Otherwise, it seems like a flimsy story, or it seems like we're isolating the story with this handful of gargoyles and the villain of the week. I think I want a little bit more from the texture, the context of the society they're living in. I guess I want that social psychology of it all.
And
tell me about that.
The problem that I see is that I'm not sure we're ever going to get it for one reason, and that is no one has ever given us that. If you think back to the first episode, even Elisa saw claw marks on stone and decided to run up the building to see what it was.
Yeah.
And while we took that as, oh, Elisa different, she runs toward the danger instead of running away from it, none of the guards or soldiers who didn't know what they were coming to fight at, they thought they were invading Xanatos's castle or whatever. And then it turns out Xanatos probably even got them to do it and stuff like that. None of these people have reacted to these monsters the way that some rando Scott did back in the 1600s when he was like, are we crazy? We're going to attack a castle with gargoyles?
Yeah.
That guy was the most terrified of something that wasn't even out of its stone yet than anyone in modern day New York has been. And maybe that's the social commentary. Maybe it's that New Yorkers have just seen so much that this is just one more thing. There is no phasing someone from Manhattan.
It could be, and that could be it. It could be that we just haven't gotten there yet with that part of their story. It just seems sort of compartmentalized, that we're only getting a bubble of their conflicts, and there's this bigger context that I feel like I'm missing. And
it's the dilemma of the story, which is they can only come out at night.
Yeah.
They can only do certain things during the day, or whatever. They can only, there are so many rules constricting them to certain stories that you're now finding yourself in episode 9 being like, what do we go from here?
Yeah.
It's just going to be more fights.
I want the Gaston song from Beauty and the Beast. Like, I want people to really fixate on these monsters and talk about their story about these monsters, and even create the untrue narrative for us to feel tension. I feel like I'm sort of missing that here.
I wouldn't mind, in the same way as, say, Batman, I wouldn't mind the city turning on them, grabbing their metaphoric pitchforks and their torches and trying to find them and hunt them down and trying to rid the city of these beasts. I don't mind that. And that reminds me actually of that TV series, Beauty and the Beast.
Like the live action
with
one?
Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman. Because anytime someone did see something sinister in an alleyway or whatever, they would immediately jump to, my God, it's a creature, it's a monster. And so, yes, I do want to see that. I think that would be interesting. I also, I don't know. I think, look, it's an animated series. It's meant to be comic book like. You're going to have super villains. You're going to have super fights. You're going to have laser beams and electrified nets. For a show like ours, that's not going to cover it. And I think the big thing we got from this episode is the separation from their home and convincing Goliath that it needed to happen, and Goliath finally coming to terms with it and accepting it. So I want to ask you about Goliath and that need to hold on to the one thing that has been a constant for him for all of these centuries. What did you pick up there as you're watching this character get violently angry at people who love him for even suggesting that they should move on?
The anger that we see is a trauma response. It is very significant that others have processed the change, the drastic change, and what I mean by trauma and change are the time leap, which we talked about, which is incredibly disruptive to the psyche, which we talked a little bit about, kind of like the impact of being taken out of your time, how that is incredibly traumatic. And then, of course, what happened to them, they're the small group of survivors of their community, and there's survivor's guilt, and there's sadness, and there's anger and a sense of being persecuted and oppressed, and having to hold that and build a new society within the small group. So they're a part of that trauma is the cultural displacement. It's the loss of life. It's the sense of loneliness and lack of belonging in this new place, in this, society where it's taking place, New York City.
Yeah.
And I think the others, what's notable is the others have made attempts, some more than others, right? I would say that certainly Lexington and Hudson, they've made attempts to try and learn more about their situation and grow and have an openness.
I would say all of them have except Goliath.
Yeah, I mean, Goliath has, you're correct. Goliath has been the one who has not grown in terms of an openness to change.
He has to some degree, and the only reason I say that is I think you're right for the most part. He is incrementally growing, whereas the others are in a wow state of they are so fascinated by their new surroundings that they're overwhelmed, whereas Goliath refused to trust a human being until Elisa finally got him to. So we've seen him slowly grow, whereas everybody else has jumped in headfirst.
I think he still has some symptoms of PTSD from this big event. And I'd say that they have developed more adaptive skills and adaptive coping, and they're moving into their new identities. Whereas he is really trying to hold on to his previous self, and he's very hypervigilant. And like you said, he's untrusting.
Now, is part of that because he is the one and only gargoyle who chose to essentially end his own life by volunteering to be put under a magical spell to not be let.
Which spell? Which spell?
Well, I mean, but hundreds of years ago, he did volunteer and told the magus, put me under the same spell you put them under.
Yeah.
And so there is a sense of not just leadership, but almost ownership to some degree of like, look, we're only here together because I made it so by sacrificing myself to the cause, or whatever, or to his own depression at the time or loneliness or whatever.
That he could like maybe hold some guilt and blame about what happened to them. And I think you and I wondered if he knew at the time. He did not necessarily know they would be resuscitated.
I don't think he did, and I think he just assumed everything was over, which is what a lot of people online have told us as well. Is you have to keep in mind this is a guy who, for all intents and purposes, was ending his own life by saying, "Go ahead and make me stone for as long as they're going to be," knowing the impossibilities of that castle ever leaving that ground and suddenly being above the clouds.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to try to carefully, with sensitivity, say this because we're going into a very delicate topic.
Yeah.
But he chose to end his existence with the idea that there would be no magic that would resuscitate him, or that the spell that he was aware of would not be broken.
Yeah.
And then to reawaken into a world that he did not choose, into a world that was not the outcome that he chose for himself, I think is wrapped into the guilt of having given up. In other words, he gave up and woke up without resolving the guilt and shame and sadness about what happened to his community. Mm-hmm. He still has to deal and reckon with the loss of his community, the oppression that they experienced, and like you said, his failed leadership. And the hard part about this too is how fixated he is in, I want to say, like, things staying the same. And this is why I said this is more trauma related, more PTSD related than maybe anything else, because essentially he's homebound, or he's unwilling to see their lives as ones that could be happy outside of the castle.
Right.
And his schema is very, very narrow and fixed. It's this idea that we have to stay in this castle, and this is what keeps us safe, and this is how we protect one another, and this is how I protect all of you. And if we move out of this castle, that disorder, that in his mind, that disorder, that lack of safety, that lack of protection is very threatening to his sense of self. And I think that's a part of his anxiety and a part of his PTSD. This is sort of how he's coped with the sense of wanting to keep things the same.
Yeah.
This is how he thinks he's adaptive. He thinks he's self-regulating, but in fact, it's not helping him grow.
I appreciate that you said anxiety, because I think that's one of the things that might be leading him. He is the most emotional of the group. Every episode, he is yelling at someone, or he is roaring in anger, or he is attacking someone for having done something to one of the others. None of the others are leading with their emotions quite as high and high-strung as he. And part of that could simply be the burden of being a leader. But when it's all said and done, who is that healthy for? And I don't think it's particularly healthy for Goliath.
We've talked a little bit before on the show about reactive violence versus instrumental violence. Mm-hmm. And I think he's falling into the category of reactive violence. Not adaptive, not safe, not logical. That a lot of his anxiousness and his fearfulness around not being in control is triggered, is threatened. And so when he senses or has the belief that their home is going to be taken away from them, or that they as a group are going to be separated, I think for me, what I'm seeing is that lack of control becoming the trigger. And then he becomes really brutal and volatile and violent. That scene in the castle, I mean, it made sense. He's trying to save his friends. But that scene in Macbeth's castle, that whole medieval escape room, was just one scene after another where he's having these violent attacks. And a part of me wonders if that was sort of set up for him.
Yeah.
That Macbeth wanted to exhaust his rage, like get it out of him. I'm not sure if that's like, I'm even thinking like down to the neurobiology of gargoyles. Like, do those rage pheromones somehow send signals to Demona? Like, he's basically saying, I need Demona to come here. And does that have anything to do with it?
Well, and presumably that's why he left the others behind.
Yeah.
Was he needed someone to tell the queen where to go and find the others, not realizing that the queen was not part of their clan anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because he doesn't even seem to care about Goliath.
What do you mean by that?
Well, luring Goliath was not the point. I almost wonder if Macbeth thought that the two he took were like the children.
Oh, okay. Like this was bait.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Oh, the queen clearly was going to go protect the kids. So it really didn't matter that the king is the one who showed up. That's not what I care about. And he even said that, like, oh, I couldn't care less about you guys. Like you are just bait for the queen. She's the one I got a thing with. And you know, yeah. I'm curious. We have not gotten rid of Macbeth, so we're clearly going to learn more about him. I hope it's sometime within the next 3 episodes. 10, 11, 12, 14, 4 episodes. And so I would be... I think for me, the most exciting part of anything coming up is the mystery box of who Macbeth is, how he knows Demona, how he ended up giving her her name. The two of them are clearly enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that presumably because when she said, I also have a name, they've given me a name, it's Demona. I don't think that was given to her happily, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she has taken it, she has embraced it, she has made it her own.
Oh, so you think that name was assigned to her without her consent or without her agreement?
Yes.
That's her identity? Okay.
I do.
Interesting. But she fully embraces it now.
I think she,
Okay.
and very probably embraced it before. She probably was like, because she's the one who doesn't care. She's the one who wants to be menacing and scary to humans. She's the one who wants them to back up. And so if she carries with her a name that is terrifying, that just fits her character.
Right.
And her cause.
What was her name before?
She didn't have one. None of them did.
They didn't have. Oh, you're right. They didn't have names. Okay.
Yeah. None of them needed a name except Goliath. Okay, so we do have 4 more episodes before the end of the season. Again, that means that our patrons are going to get an opportunity to vote on what we're going to be covering next pretty soon. Without giving anything away, because there's nothing to give away, do you also want to take this opportunity to mention that a certain popular thing that happened last year might end up happening again this year after we run through the end of Gargoyles?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you mean the live action movie of the Gargoyles?
I think Summer of Sci-Fi or something.
I thought you were talking about the occasional rumors, the seasonal rumors that there's a live action Gargoyle
I'm
film.
saying we had a popular thing last year with the Summer of Sci-Fi.
For sure.
We are coming up on summer. We are coming up on the end of Gargoyles. It would be fun to cover some movies, whether they're sci-fi or horror or dramas involving psychologists. I don't know, like whatever it is. I think it would be interesting to have another cool summer the way we did last year. That was fun. I liked it.
I would be happy to do another season of Summer of Sci-Fi.
Cool. All right. Well, Drea, why don't you tell the good folks where they can find you online?
You can find me online on my website, drdreapsychology.com. You can also check out my socials, also at Dr. Drea Psychology. And if you'd like to join our Discord, find the link on the Arkham Sessions Instagram.
And what is that Arkham Sessions Instagram? It is at the Arkham Sessions. You can find me on Instagram. I am at B_Ward028. You can email us at arkhamsessions@gmail.com. You can come find us on Facebook and all those other fun places, Threads and yada, yada. You can also, if you're not watching our reaction videos on YouTube, go over and check those out. If you're not listening to our podcast, feel free to check that out, because a lot of times the podcast is different from what you are seeing on YouTube. And of course, you can always come to Patreon and see the full reaction videos to this and all of our recent episodes. You can do that by going to patreon.com/Arkham Sessions and join the tier there to see those full reactions. You can also see other things, do other things. You can vote for $3. You can just give us $1 and see everything early. Lots of cool stuff. Also, for $5, you can have your name called out on the episodes, very much like Mike Ficklin, Lindsay B, C, Antonio Lopez, Hero's Journey Fitness, Todd Stashwick, Christopher Daly, Brian Kerr, Trevor Schwartz, Ben Martin, Swara Salih, Frank Muller, Mark Pepper, Jamiroquai J, and SK. Thank you all for your support. We couldn't do these episodes without you. Believe us, you have no idea. Yeah. I think that's a perfect place to leave off for this episode. Until next time, I'm Brian Ward.
I'm Dr. Drea Letamendi.
And together we are
the Arkham Sessions.